All right, hello, Idiots on Parade, the Too Ugly for TV podcast. We mock the news so you don't have to. I am Nathan Timmel, stand-up comedian in Iowa City. With me, as always, is Jake Vevra, stand-up comedian in New York City. Hello, Jake.
How's it going?
I am on day 10 of having my back messed up, so that's exciting. And yesterday, this is very cool. I was at the library with my son, standing, doing nothing, not moving, and my knee buckled, and now I have knee pain. At least when I hurt my back, I was at the gym being stupid, like, yay, I'm going to lift weights and be awesome. This was just me standing, and my knee buckled. So getting old is fun. This is great.
Yeah. It's a new level of old where you get hurt in stationary in one position, you know, no car running into you, no nothing, you know, just gravity pulling on you as you don't move an inch is enough to get you.
It's so much fun. All right, let's jump into some news. Hello, Dr. Gunn Williams. Boring. Yeah, well, so is your sex life. Fuck off. Speaking of sex life,
your first name is an acronym because you're a loser.
There you go. All right. I this first story I want to talk about is one of the last things I sent you, because I just want to open with these are my favorite stories. I love when this happens. A big nothing, a big something boring, Dr. Gunn, something boring happens in the world. And a, quote, reporter, an infotainment reporter, goes and finds the 10 stupidest people on the planet on Twitter, and then writes a story that says, people are talking, people are outraged. Well, this one, I knew nothing about. I didn't hear the release. All I heard was the outrage. Sydney Sweeney sparks fierce backlash over creepy and gross brand collaboration. All right. Apparently, a little while back, Sasquatch Soap hired Sydney Sweeney to pitch their product. She's in a bathtub and says, this soap isn't for boys, it's for men. And, you know, Sydney Sweeney's gorgeous, and men reacted like, ooh, I gotta, use Sasquatch soap so that I can smell like Sydney Sweeney would want to sleep with me. But since men are creepy and sexual, and it's an old saying, they started commenting, man, what I would give for that bathwater. So Sasquatch has taken hopefully it's real. I hope it's real and not just lies. But like when Kiss put vials of their own blood into their Kiss comic, they took a droplet of Sydney Sweeney bathwater and dropped it into a mix of their next batch of soap. And now they're selling Sydney Sweeney bathwater bliss. And I love this part. The scent is morning wood. And so people are reacting saying,
that's awesome.
It really is. Oh, Jake, like I said, we got to go. Here, one quick thing. I was not interested in the Sydney Sweeney soap. I'm like, oh, she's selling her soap. Good for her. I don't know if this is reverse psychology. Once I saw that people were, quote, outraged, now I want to buy it. Now I want to buy it because if it's pissing people off, that's my knee-jerk reaction. Quick, before I throw to you, hey, from France. Hello, Sans, Tatum, hello, and Yvonne. Yes, we are Idiocracy. Jake, jump in.
Yeah, you know what this reminds me of? And let me just say, I like that Sasquatch is doing this. I like that they said when the internet goes low, we dig a mine shaft and we go all the way down to the internet and we sell them used bathwater from some chick we hired to do the commercial. That's amazing. I love that they did that. That said, I'm skeptical of Big Bathwater here. You know, the Big Bathwater company. I'm gonna. Not to sound like a used bathwater truther, a Sydney Sweeney bathwater truther. I don't think that's a real bathwater, dude. I don't.
I'm right there with you. See, my first thought was, I have several thoughts. One, was this planned out in advance? Like, did they have the foresight to just take, again, an eyedropper worth of bathwater and you throw it in a mix with gallons and gallons and thousands of gallons, whatever, or after the internet started saying, after dudes on the internet started saying, I want her bathwater, did they make her take a second bath or just put a big toe in, and then, or is it all fake?
I was going to bring up the timeline, which you just mentioned. So they're paying her to do the shoot. I can't imagine you're spending a lot of days on this. It's a commercial. She's in and out, fairly quick. So there's no way they could have foreseen the internet going, I want to drink the bathwater. I mean, I would have guessed, but I don't think they guessed. So I think they did the shoot. Months later, after they got done editing, that's when it went online. That's when they got the comments. So you then have to pay her to, I don't know, come back and take more of a bath there, or be like, hey, will you ship us some of your bath water through Amazon? At which point she's like, yeah, I'm going to wash my hands in the sink and send that, if she's even bothering to do that, Yeah. But regardless, you would still have to pay her to do that. See, I think these companies are just ripping them off. This reminded me of an episode of Real Sex I saw decades ago. You remember Real Sex on HBO?
Yes.
It would mix like really hot, like porn stars, you know what I mean? And then they would do a segment on like, here's a bunch of 70-year-old swingers banging in the mud. And are they keeping in shape like Bo Derek? No. They're eating a diet of mostly hoagies and fried cheese. And now they're naked and they're having orgies in front of the camera while we barely blur anything out. This is Real Sex. I'm like, bro, give me the fake stuff again. Give me fakes. Give me Hustler. Give me Penthouse. Give me all of that. I don't like Real Sex. I like the fake stuff. But anyway, they did an episode on used panty sales. There was some company that was selling porn stars used panties. You know how that's kind of a thing. OnlyFans models do it a lot. I've heard Japan's got vending machines for these fucking things. But Mark in YouTube says free Diddy. That's right. All he did was sell some panties at those parties. But anyway, they're on Real Sex, and it's showing the porn star, taking these panties and kind of flossing herself front and back with them, and then putting them in a Ziploc bag. And it's like, all right, that's the way it goes. And then I'm shocked they put this on TV because it's kind of snitching on themselves. They actually said sometimes our model runs dry, so we have a little cocktail that we've made with our secret formula, and it's showing like cans of tuna and like some mayonnaise and some lime and dill. And they're like, it gives the same aroma. And it's like, dude, why would you guys snitch on yourselves like this? This is crazy. This is like, if you're a panty guy, if you're buying used panties, for one thing, you're probably watching Real Sex. I would imagine that the demo, the Venn diagram of guys who bought used panties 20 years ago and guys who watched Real Sex on HBO, like it crosses a lot, And this is like the Milli Vanilli of the used panty world. It really is. Except they Milli Vanilli themselves. This would be like Milli Vanilli coming out and going, hey, guys, it's all a backup track. Look, I'm still singing, but I'm not singing. They Milli Vanilli themselves, It's the craziest fucking thing. And I'm shocked that they did that. And it shocks me even further that there's still companies out there selling used panties, or in this case, used bathwater, because call me a cynic, but I don't trust the big panty companies not to continue lying to us and just selling us fake used panties.
Two thoughts. One, that's why I appreciated the band Kiss showing themselves dumping their own blood into the Marvel comic, because that added authenticity. Three things. Right. Two, that's why I like that one OnlyFans model that was selling her farts in a jar. If you remember, she had to seek medical help because her diet was so bad, because she was eating like nonstop cabbage or whatever. She was eating a bad diet, so she would remain
the same
gassy.
diet as the swingers on Real Sex. Actually, is what she did. She watched an old episode and she was like, "These people actually eat this. I can smell this through the screen. I could use this for my farts."
Exactly. So it was legit. And then a third thought, Yvonne just threw up because of your description. But she also said that this whole bath soap thing is normalizing a fetish. It's a fetish. It's not a fetish. It's just a stupid thing guys say, like, oh my God, she's so gorgeous, I drink her bath water. It's old. It's been around since I remember, you hear it, it's nothing you do, but They capitalized on it. They're like, yeah, we're actually gonna sell it. So in my heart, I want to believe.
Right. I drink her bath water. I gargle her bidet. Yeah. Sure. I just normal sayings that dudes say all the time.
We can't talk at the same time, though. Remember, you got to wait because of the glitchy. I want to believe it's legit. I want to believe that she washed her hands and took a dropper of water, or they just did it on set. They called her in and said, "Hey, just like I said, here's a sink full of water. Touch the water there." It's Sydney,
But like holy water.
Yeah,
like holy water with the priest. Like
she bless
this bath water with thy loins, and it's good for an entire batch of 1,000.
Yeah, Kevy wants to know what we're talking about. We're talking about Sydney Sweeney's new bathwater soap. And we're about to switch. Oh, you fuck thing. What just happened? My default mic changed on the... No.
Well, you know what? I will say before we switch, I am going to buy some of this Sydney Sweeney bathwater soap because I want in on the class action lawsuit. That's right. I'm sending the soap to 23andMe. And if the soap comes back, oh, this is Sydney Sweeney. This is 10% Scottish, 5% French, this whatever. But if it just comes back like, nah, this is 80% lavender and 20% bullshit, I am going to sue. And I hope that my attorney is impassioned. You know what I mean? I hope that the attorney brings in, I have a sommelier from Martha's Vineyard. Taste the bathwater from Sydney Sweeney. Now taste the soap. Is it the same? Answer the question, sommelier.
I do not believe in frivolous lawsuits. This is a lawsuit I could get behind 1,000%.
That's right. And I hope the lawyer is impassioned. I hope he goes full Matthew McConaughey in A Time to Kill. Just, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, now imagine the bathwater was white. Imagine. I hope he goes fucking nuts, man.
No. You missed a joke.
I'll be tearing up and applauding in the.
You missed a joke. Here's the joke you missed. Going Matthew McConaughey saying, imagine the bathwater turned out. The bathwater was Lizzo. It was really Lizzo. It wasn't Sydney Sweeney. It was Mama Cass. It was it was a Mama June from
That's right.
Honey Boo Boo. It was
Mama
nothing
Cass.
You want.
I love the current. Yes, thank you for rewinding us and going back in time and hitting us with I thought A Time to Kill was maybe too dated of a reference. You went Mama Cass, who was killed by a ham sandwich 30 years before the movie A Time to Kill and 5 years before the book.
Well, But when I say we're changing gears, I don't mean we're shifting without a clutch. No, we're putting the clutch in. You know who's probably pissed off right now? You know who is super, super angry? The punk band Private Function. Because Sydney Sweeney is blowing up with this bathwater soap. And yet the punk band Private Function, are putting out a vinyl record called Goopy that smells like Gwyneth Paltrow's vagina. The vinyl is a scratch and sniff record. I mean, this is a genius move right here.
Again, class action lawsuit. I'm bringing back that sommelier to the courtroom. I'm having her scratch Gwyneth and then scratch the record.
But it's already out there. They did it off her candle. She released that candle that smelled like her vagina. All that. They're not saying it is an authentic Gwyneth Paltrow vagina. They're just using the compound for that candle and going. I'm saying they're pissed because Sydney Sweeney's getting all their attention. This was their chance to break big. It's like Eric Carr, the second drummer for Kiss, dying the same week as Freddie Mercury of Queen. Nobody remembers that Eric Carr died. It was overshadowed. And didn't somebody die the same week as Michael Jackson? Farrah Fawcett, maybe? Someone more famous. So Sydney Sweeney has Michael Jackson, Eric Carr's punk band Function, Private Function, with their Goopy vinyl.
Well, it shows you punk really is dead and behind the times. You know what I mean? It's they're releasing the Gwyneth Paltrow vagina record when it should be the Sydney Sweeney bathwater record. I mean, yes. I'm sure there's probably a SoundCloud rapper who's doing that with her bathwater right now.
The best part, I'm trying to find the price because in the article they're saying that Gwyneth sold her candle for $700, which is bullshit. But they're not saying that they're record is only $10. They should throw a price on, because have you seen a record lately? Like, you go to Barnes and Noble, they're like $40 or $50 for vinyl right now, because it's supposed to be hip and retro. So it's like, that's still fucking pretty outrageous for a record.
It is, but it's a supply and demand thing. There's not a lot of companies making that shit anymore, but there's kind of a resurgence. A niche resurgence, but more than there should be for vinyl when you got Spotify on your phone, And I know there's all kinds of there's probably some audiophile nerds, and they're going, "Oh, it doesn't sound the same when you get the $800 headphones and you can hear people breathing on the cords or whatever." Like, shut up. I'd rather just have Spotify in my pocket and go for a run.
Well, I did read an article about the difference between Vital and Spotify, and the differences were so microscopic. They said, "Oh, you lose a little in the," and I'm going to make this up. You lose a little in the 800 hertz range, but you gain a little here, and it's like, oh, fuck you. Like, it sounds good. I have on Bose headphones right now. Everything sounds great in these. Like, Spotify's fine unless you are the biggest nerd. If you have never talked to a girl. Then if you are buying Sydney Sweeney soap just so you can masturbate with it, which now that I say it, I kind of want to do that, then you're a record nerd. I wonder if Sydney Sweeney's soap is moisturizing, because I would not want like a Dove, because you don't want to jerk it with a dry lather that's going to dry your skin out down there.
Now, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's not very good soap, because normally when it's a product with a gimmick, it tends to be kind of half-assed. Like the chicken nuggets that are shaped like the characters from Minions aren't the best chicken nuggets on the market, that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, Sasquatch is a known company, though. Selling soap is their thing. Yeah, that's why they hired her in the first place, to sell, because it's for burly
Maybe
guys.
it is that.
Yeah, it could be. I think it's legit soap. I'm just not. It's $8 a bar, and I'm not willing to invest that.
Right. Yeah. I tend to get real skeptical once I see a gimmick, and Sydney Sweeney's Bathwater, that, sir, is a gimmick.
But if it's real, I'm like I said, I kind of want to buy it just because there's a backlash against it. The fact that people are, quote, outraged but then again, that would be the best marketing plan, to kind of like with Justin Baldoni getting ahead of Blake Lively by planting all those stories in the summer during the release. Get out there and say, "Oh, people are outraged," so that people like me go, "What? They're angry. I'm buying that fucking soap."
It's good marketing, man. I've actually purchased both that and the Gwyneth Paltrow vagina candle. And I'm gonna make myself a little vaginal bubble bath, and I'm gonna scrub myself with the Sydney Sweeney bathwater soap while smelling the vagina candle. It's gonna be a whole afternoon. Well, while listening to the vinyl record that the punk band made with the scent. Do you think that they maybe charge less because it's sort of like, you have the Gwyneth Paltrow vagina candle, but then they can get away with it by saying Gwyneth Paltrow vagina scented candle, kind of like how it's like, oh, it's not grape juice, it's grape flavor, that kind of thing with the candle. That's how they get around getting sued.
I was going to say maybe they could pay her a royalty, but I want to turn to the chat really quick. Ultra has shown up. Hello. Goat says, "What's up?" Hello, Goat. And Sophie and Kenneth's here. Hey, Ultra and Sophie. We are doing our best not to talk over one another. We're making little mistakes, but we're hoping to put a pause between us. Is the glitching any better? I researched this all week, and basically YouTube sucks. That's the long and the short of it. It's all YouTube. I have checked my speed, my internet uploads. So let us know if we are still glitching, or if attempting to not talk over one another, which we shouldn't do anyway, is helping.
Right now that he's talking and I'm talking, does this actually make it glitch out? Like, talk real quick. Let's do a little test talking over each other. But you're not talking right now. I mean, try talking right now to see if it makes it glitch. Okay,
well, Yep is saying N-word for no reason, so he showed up. But Sophie also pointed out it's a hummus-based abrasive soap. that would be okay. So you got Sydney Sweeney releasing, say, I'm going to make this up, the moisturizing soap, you need a Marjorie Taylor Greene with the pumice base abrasive soap. You need someone with an abrasive personality like Sarah Huckabee Sanders to put out the Sophie and Kez. Is it constantly frozen, or is it only when we talk over one another? That's what we're curious, is if by slowing down, if it helps. We're recording a backup too, so that we can have good audio elsewhere. That's why I
would rather have soap with Marjorie Taylor Greene's bathwater than Sydney Sweeney. That's just kind of more my speed, you know.
All right. Next story. Oh, well, it's happening little by little. This is just it's a not, I don't want to say a small market, but it's a General Motors is now Canada's best-selling EV maker as Tesla sales crater. For the third quarter of last year and the first quarter of this year, they didn't say anything about the fourth quarter of last year. I thought that was interesting. GM just launched and Tesla dropped, it said 90% in sales. 90%. Wow, that is what happens when you go full asshole.
I think it's only half because of that. And I mean, this is going to get kind of boring, but for the longest time, Tesla was the only real EV manufacturer. And so naturally, if there's only one company selling Gwyneth Paltrow vagina candles, I'll put it in terms we've already been discussing, economic terms we've already been discussing on the podcast. If there's only one company who sells the Gwyneth Paltrow vagina, you have the market cornered in that. If the patent then gets released, which Elon Musk did intentionally for free because he wanted more companies making the cars, that way there's more chargers getting put in place across the country. You know, he knew that if there was only Teslas, then good luck getting, gas stations in the middle of Indiana or whatever to put in EV chargers. Whereas if they're all making them, people can build the chargers, and getting those in place is a little more feasible. Hence, I mean, that is their biggest sort of selling hiccup, is you can't really drive across the country with an EV. It's very tough because of the charging. So anyway, just like with the Gwyneth Paltrow vagina candles, if you've got one company selling the vagina candles and then you have 20 companies selling the vagina candles, you're going to chop up the market.
And nobody talks about that. That's fucking brilliant, because everybody just focuses on what I said up front is Elon's an asshole, so nobody wants to become him. I do think it's a mix. Maybe they wouldn't have bought a Tesla just overall, but now not only would they say fuck Elon, but they can buy a competitor. And Sophie says it's the same thing going on in Europe. The Chinese cars, and we just froze for 30 seconds. I don't know if you heard me earlier, Sophie and Ken, or if we froze, but I researched this all week. It is 100% YouTube, and there's not a goddamn thing we can do about it. YouTube basically sucks.
I turned my Wi-Fi off. Did that help?
You muted yourself.
Kind of helps a bit. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. You were muted for a second.
Yeah, it was just switching to cell phone service there. I'm just going to see if this helps, because I
checked my upload speed. Yeah, I know I'm fast, but it's And when I used Chat GPT, and it came back with, oh yeah, this happens all the time. You see one another. It's great for you. It's bad for everyone else. And gave me a bunch of things to look into. None of them, like last week we were talking about switching to 720. That's not allowed. There's nothing to do it. We're talking about going through a second, OBS or stream. YouTube punishes you. So YouTube sets up this poorly functioning service and then holds it exclusive. And it kind of sucks. If they would put us into the same feeds, and they don't allow guests. If we go to YouTube desktop, you cannot have two people. It's absurd how bad YouTube is when it comes to live streaming.
Yeah, that's pretty rough, but it's got, it's got a lot of the market. So sucks, man.
All right. Running out of time on Zoom. So let's jump to another story. I like this one. Everyone is roasting Raiders owner Mark Davis over his comments about 26-year-old girlfriend Hayden Hopkins. He said that, oh, she likes my smile. That's literally what it is she likes my, no, it's not. You look at her. She's even better looking than Jordan, the 28-year-old that's fucking Bill Belichick. And that's why I wanted to bring this up. Why does Bill Belichick get all the attention? Mark Davis is much, much uglier, and his girlfriend is hotter. Like, she is absolutely only with him because he's like, she didn't know I was a billionaire when we met. Oh, yes, she did. Yes, she did. D. Rees wants to know if we have an OnlyFans. Sophie and Ken says we should switch to Twitch. We'd have to build up again, but we can look into it. Jake, do you have an OnlyFans? I don't yet. I should take pictures of my feet.
I actually, not only do I have an OnlyFans, I sell my bathwater and a candle that smells like my balls. So get on there. That's in the premium content.
Marcus says frozen screen, but audio is good. Well, that's good to hear. If you can hear us, that's what's important. The fact that YouTube screen that the video sucks, but if you can hear us. So, and to answer my question, why do you think Bill Belichick is getting all the attention for his hot young girlfriend, and the uglier guy with the hotter girlfriend is flying under the radar until he opened his mouth and said this stupid shit about when she met? That she liked his smile and didn't know he was a billionaire.
Well, I think it's two reasons. There's the obvious one of Belichick is more well known, just because he was more in the public eye. He was the coach. People don't really know the owners like that for the most part. You only really get known by people that aren't huge sports fanatics or just fans of that team. You only really get known as an owner. You only really break into the zeitgeist if you have some scandal, Donald Sterling, something like that, Robert Kraft.
Stick with I was just going to say Robert Kraft, stick with the Patriots, getting a little rub and tug.
Right. And, I thought he took way too much shit for that. That was crazy. And I'm not saying there's not problems within the sex industry, sure. But, to sit there and go, this guy got a rub and tug, therefore he is responsible for every single human trafficking instance that's ever happened in the sex work industry. It was fucking crazy. No one would have done that if it wasn't for the Patriots, because people hated the Patriots back then, right? But I digress. Bill Belichick, already more famous, more knowable. And then you also had that weird interview with, I don't remember who he was doing the interview with, where she jumped in and was like, we don't talk about this anymore, when they asked how they met. So, and I think there's speculation that Bill Belichick's current girlfriend or fiance, whatever she is, sugar baby, whatever, is A, controlling him, and B, there was speculation that she was an escort. So, and that's how they met, and so people are like, maybe that's why she's getting so funny about that question. But
I agree with everything you said. That was a good take. Yeah, you're right. Bill Belichick has won so many Super Bowls. Only football people know, Dave. So that's a really logical answer. All right, do we have time for one more story?
And especially like owners have more money, you know what I mean, in general, than the coaches, like by a lot.
That's true, and by a lot.
By a country fucking mile. Like old billionaire with young trophy wife, that is to be expected. Whereas like football coach with young trophy wife, it's like you don't see it as much. It's not as and anything gets more press coverage if it's something that's out of the norm.
Yes. All right, final story. Let's do this quick. It's just a dumb one that I thought was interesting. Argentine movie theater ceiling collapses during Final Destination Bloodlines screening. So Final Destination series is someone has a premonition, like, oh, I think this plane is going to crash. Don't get on the plane. And the plane crashes. So death comes and gets everybody that wasn't on the plane. So the idea that you're in a movie theater and the ceiling starts collapsing is like, oh, how ironic. Except when you read the story, two things jump out. One, it was a couple ceiling tiles, not a ceiling collapse. But then two, there was a woman, where did they say her name? Fiamma Villarere, who went on to the screening on a whim with her 11-year-old daughter. to the gore porn, to the R-rated movie about people getting, fucking nails driven through their skull and in their eyeballs and blood. An 11-year-old. Wow. Maybe
it's just because I'm garbage, but I went to horror movies and stuff at 11. I mean,
and look how you turned out.
And I turned out great. You know what I mean? I got 17 Gwyneth Paltrow vagina candles. That's how rolling in the dough I am right now.
Apparently so. All right. Well, Zoom's going to cut us off too. So we have been Idiots on Parade, the Too Ugly for TV podcast. I can be found. My name is Nathan Timmel. I can be found at nathantimmel.com. Everything is there, from my Amazon author page for all the books I've written, to my t-shirt store, to a link to my YouTube channel, which has a 1-hour comedy special called Unapologetic. Jake has his own YouTube channel. All of his social media is the sign at Jake Vevera, Vevera. His comedy special is called Unalived by Dog Pills. Go give it a thumbs up, a comment, a like, and a share. And maybe next week we won't insult YouTube so much and we will stay on the air live for longer. But for this week, thanks for hanging out, and hopefully this audio is better than it has been because we've switched back to recording with a professional mic. Thanks for your patience.
Sydney Sweeney just got her bathwater sent to Bill Belichick, and now his sugar baby's mad.